As we all know, the Prophet Abraham, the predecessor of all the prophets, is indeed the crucial point of unity among believers of the three monotheistic religion. Prophet Abraham has a unique place in relation to Muslims. Our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, made the following statement: every prophet has a guardian teacher. My teacher is the Prophet Abraham. Without a doubt, all of the prophets are like the members of a single family. There is no difference among them in respect to the call and duty of prophethood. One can understand this from the Prophet Muhammad's own words. God sent us each prophet as the final link in the chain of the earlier prophets, and entrust each prophet with the spiritual inheritance as a form of tutelage. The Prophet Abraham is a prophet whose guardianship and tutelage was given to Prophet Muhammad. Therefore, as a saying of the Prophet Muhammad says, Muslims must offer this prayer 3 times during each of the daily times of prayer, 5 times a day. O God, just as you showed mercy to the Prophet Abraham and his family, grant well-being to the Prophet Muhammad and his family, and bestow upon them your compassion. O God, just as you bless Abraham and his family with your beneficence, so too bless Muhammad and his family with your beneficence. What meaning then does the Prophet Abraham and the message that he brought have for us today? I will attempt to answer this question from the perspective of Islamic sources, in as much as I'm a Muslim myself. The Prophet Abraham expressed and symbolized 5 principal values which are crucial for humankind today. 1. Faith in God from one soul on the basis of firm belief. 2. The endeavor to strengthen the belief through rational means. 3. The struggle of faith. 4. Commitment to familial values. 5. Sharing the blessing that God has provided with the poor. Not only dedication to these values as a whole, but even dedication to a single one of them is a valuable means of providing for the welfare of humankind as a whole. Faith in God from one soul on the basis of firm belief. All of God's messengers are indelibly united to Him with firm, unshakable belief. Nonetheless, the Quran gives special emphasis to this quality in the Prophet Muhammad. Abraham was an individual with a sensitive temperament, who had a heart of salt, though, and who committed himself to God from within his soul. In particular, this quality of Abraham calls attention to itself when one examines the verses of the chapters of the Quran. According to Quran, the blessed Abraham challenged his father's devotion to idols in the following manners. Why do you worship objects that do not hear, do not see, and do nothing for you? As we learn from the 63rd verse from the Surah of the Anbiya in the Quran, Abraham also said, if they can speak, why don't you petition them? In this series of questions, Abraham rationally established that a God who is worshipped must possess the qualities of hearing, sight, speech, and providence toward those who live in them. Now I'm going to skip some of my paragraph, then move to familial values. When examined from the perspective of familial values, the Prophet Abraham's life contains an exceptional number of values, examples, and lessons. Due to the fact that his first wife, Sarah, did not give birth to any children, Abraham married Hagar with Sarah's consent, and always made extraordinary efforts to accommodate and please both of them. Later, after the birth of the prophet Ishmael, Abraham's behavior as a father toward his son exemplified the importance of relation between fathers and sons in general. His behavior in this respect contains many crucial lessons for the belief system of each of the three monotheistic religions today. If one considers the fact that Abraham's family settled in the holy city of Mecca from this point of view, it is clear that this choice was not a mere coincidence. Indeed, Abraham's settlement in Mecca, of course, according to Muslims' understanding, was probably the first step in a greater coordinated plan by God. As the Prophet Muhammad once said, one of the father's duties toward his children is the selection and the creation of a good place of settlement. In this respect, Abraham's choice of Mecca was the first explicit example offered to humankind of the principle of raising children in a proper environment. As the following Quranic verse states, "Bless God, I have settled here in an arid canyon unsuitable to agriculture, beside your sacred house, so that a portion of my offspring might worship you in this holy proximity." The verse contains three essential messages. In the subject of education and upbringing, above all, it is essential to consider religious devotion and the importance of education in religion for one's children. One of the most crucial factors that can affect the realization of this educational goal is the location and circumstances of a child's upbringing. Therefore, the economic conditions of any given location must also be considered. We can extract the following basis points from the discussion of location that this verse contains: proximity to a place of worship, the location's economic profile, the importance of secure location, and the social conditions of a location. In the 37th verse of the Surah Abraham in the Quran, the Prophet Abraham makes the following prayer: "O Holy God, nourish them with fruit so that they will give thanks to you." This verse established that nourishment was the basis of this family's livelihood. And the Prophet Abraham requested nourishment in a manner that would result in giving praise and thanks to God. Sharing the blessing that God has provided with the poor. The language of Turkish Muslims contains well-known expressions such as Abraham's abundance and Abraham's table, each of which have a double meaning. These sayings demonstrate the widespread belief that Abraham never ate food outside of the presence of a guest, and that the degree to which one shares food with a guest expressed the even greater grace of God toward humankind. I don't know how many studies done in Christian literature or in Western literature. We as a Muslim, we have many studies on Abrahamic ethical values. Just one of my friends, the Professor Ibrahim, his name was also Ibrahim, and has written the wonderful book especially about this. It was translated also into English. So since we talk about the familial values, see, most of us the followers of the three monotheistic tradition, so it is my humble suggestion to focus on the Abrahamic ethical and especially familial values. Thank you for listening to me.